What's up, YouTube friends? Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I go into drawing a huge, massive floral piece and my thought process along the way. We're working on a big rifle case. There's a lot of talking, so I'm going to just jump right into it. Let's go. I got it cut out. Now what we gotta do is first set up a stitching groove so I know where my threads are gonna be. I'm gonna do that with my set of calipers. The next thing I gotta do is set up our windows or our frames that we're gonna use as the front and the back side. You know, on things that are on the front and back side, I'll set up a panel for the front, a panel for the back. We're gonna set our calipers to 1 inch and we're gonna just run that from the dot on one end to the corresponding dot on the other end. When I run big letters or letters in general, I will typically find a font that I like and then kind of like spruce it up. So I'm trying to make sure that my sizing is what I need it to be, which this sizing looks absolutely perfect. And now we're going to link these together with good spacing. And here is what our letters should somewhat look like. We are gonna spruce these up. So I'm going to run 2 lines through this, and we're going to westernify these letters. For example, this letter right here, this H has 2 legs, right? So basically, as you can see, I'm kind of doing this flare up towards the right side of the letter. That's basically what I'm gonna do for the rest of them. So I'm gonna flare it up and then I'm gonna drop down and then flare it up again. Since the I is a shorter letter than the L, I think I'm gonna go low flare here. And then I'll go high flare on the L. I think it's gonna make the design a little bit more interesting. And that's how we're gonna snazzin up our letters. I don't know how to, So we have the most important part done. Now we get to have a little bit of fun and start focusing on the floral. Over here, we have a good little space to work with. Down on the end, we have that long area to work with to portray flow. To get flow in this top awkward part, all these weird shapes is gonna be a little bit tricky. I'm gonna have to get it figured out. Although I'm a little bit worried, I'm not too worried. I like to kind of do my art setup in this kind of fashion. That way it kind of helps me be creative with different shapes and flows and different, you know, combinations of, you know, petals and whatnot. Right off the jump, I think one thing that's pretty important is gonna be making sure that my flow that comes in off this top section is nice and good. So I'm gonna kind of pencil in some kind of flow here, you know, maybe have it flare up down the road here. Maybe drop in, kind of loop the other way here. I can kind of come back up, give myself kind of some more loops, and then, you know, kind of do the same thing like that. That'll be kind of tentative for right now, but one of the things that's important is making sure that when we get to this point up here is gonna flow and make sense. You don't want floral pointing this way and then have this just kind of abrasively start out of the middle of nowhere. One thing I have to do is make sure to kind of close this off down at the bottom here. So we'll probably throw a flower, something to just kind of cap this little bit of space off. I do think that this over here is kind of decent flow. Loop or something like this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. You know, maybe down in this corner we'll pop up with another flower. I like to kind of keep a border, but I also like to go outside of the lines. It makes to me makes the floral have a little bit more character. You know, it's like literally going outside of the lines. It looks like, you know, three-dimensional, almost like it has a mind of its own. You know, might even put I think I'm even gonna put a second flower here, just to kind of close this space. Different one that kind of leans more to the side, a leaf or something. Okay, so that space shouldn't be too difficult now. To get the rest of this in here is gonna be fun. So I gotta figure out what I wanna do with this loop. I think I might just commit to this loop here, this kind of scroll. And this guy can kind of come out from over here. I like this idea so far. Okay, then what I want to do is I do want to also commit to this vine, which is going to feed into everything else. So I want to break that up with some kind of flower. So now we're working on this vine here, and we're going to do a flower. You know, maybe even have kind of a big center and have the vine like continue out of the center of the flower or something cool. We can get creative. I want to build out this vine we got going down. I'm gonna add a petal going out that way, another petal coming out here, and maybe even a leaf. So this gives this vine a little bit of body and significance in our drawing. Throw in a little bit of a swirl here. I think the double kind of swirl deal we'll have going here might be interesting. All of this swirl is going to be on top, while this vine we got going here is going to go underneath it. It will technically go over it right here. And maybe, you know, still build off this main vine here. This vine here, I do kind of want to swing out. And what we'll do is probably a vine up here that flares to close this tiny little space. I'm gonna lock this vine in a little bit better, commit to it. I think I can even throw a leaf right here to close that space off. Okay, so now all we gotta do is close off this little triangular piece. Big looping petal right here. If you guys know me by now, you guys know that I'm a leafy boy. I rock with the leaves super hard, so I think doing a leaf right there. I really like leaves because they can really do a lot. They can, you know, give you a lot of dimension. You know, vines and stuff could dip behind. They're kind of awkward shaped, and sometimes you've got to deal with really awkward shapes. Sometimes, you know, leaf at a certain angle might just be what you're needing. Now a short break from our sponsor, myself. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to give it a like, drop me a comment, hit the subscribe button. All that stuff really helps. I post a ton of leather crafting content, not just how to do leather work and stuff, but, you know, living as an artist, as a designer, being self-employed, mindset stuff, life lessons I've picked up along the way. And I would really appreciate it if you guys took 2 seconds of your time and either like, comment, or subscribe, or do all of them. Let's get back to it. This is good. I think I'm gonna save this part for last. I think what I'm gonna do is run this vine and then have it come and shoot out and kind of do the same thing where we're gonna put a flower here and then let it dive out behind like this. So this will give us a loop here. This can come in here like that. That's pretty easy. And this can kind of feed down and around. Double loop, which I think I'm feeling that. And then I can come in here with another big flower. Okay, there we go. Boom, okay. I like that. All right, whatever, we're going double flower. We're feeling wacky, which gives me a spot to put another loop here. Something like this. Do do a swirl in here, kind of like we did on the other side. And then we could have this vine come feed up through the top, just like the other side. Man, I'm getting kind of choked up right now on this part. I don't know why. Awkward because normally I'm drawing in a certain orientation. This already solved my problem, so. Yeah, that felt like I was drawing backhand, so this should be a lot nicer. Yeah, this feels way better. There we go, crisis averted. So I struggle bust through that whole thing way more than I needed to. Window to throw another loop in here. So I don't like to go too scroll heavy or too like loop heavy with the vine. So, you know, if I got a scroll here, a vine here, and a vine here, it only makes sense to throw a scroll in here just to give us a little bit of variety, because we know this scroll over here is going to be kind of big too. So, man, I'm dealing with this size canvas. All right, so we're going to throw some kind of big flower to kind of cap off all this madness. I don't even know what to call this, but I do this. So vine, a double vine, maybe even triple vine, and then we can come out through here, and this gives us a cool place to fork because we can go like this, and then we can come out going like this, and it almost sets us up for like a perfect placement of a flower down at the end or something like that. Which I've done a lot of big scrolls, so we'll switch it up here for the end and do a big vine. Because the vine's so big, I feel like we gotta do something in the middle. Doing a leaf. We love our leaves here. This is a little tricky too because now I'm having to think about how this is gonna look, and I'm drawing it upside down, so this isn't necessarily the most fun. Sometimes you can kind of get turned around, but I think I'll be fine. It's pretty messy drawing, to be honest. I have a really funky idea. Never done this before, but I'm gonna try it right here, just for you guys. What I wanna do, similar to that flower over there, we had the vine coming out of the center of the flower. I wanna try to have a vine coming out of a vine. Which sounds like crazy inception, but basically what I'm gonna do is make a little semicircle, kinda like this. And then basically imagine it's like inside, and then we can come out and do something like this. We're gonna give ourselves a loop over here. Vine is literally giving birth to a scroll. Kind of digging it. Pretty funky. We're gonna give it a try. That can come out of there, and then this vine that we're gonna have pass through, we'll have it come basically out and right next to it, and have it feed like over the top of it here. Which I will say it is kind of awkward because you have to use kind of different lines of flow to make it make sense compared to maybe what I'm used to. I'm really digging this, to be honest. This is turning out really sick for how rocky we started out. Turned her around, boys. You know what? We went leaf heavy, so we're gonna end leaf heavy. We're going double leaves down at the tip. Okay, so here's what we got for the end piece here. So like we said, I'm really excited about this part too. So we have this vine that comes up into this flower here. And then what we're gonna do is to continue this flow we have going, we're gonna have this flower center is going to be birthing rest of the vine. This top part where these letters are gonna go are gonna have a ton of leaves because there's so many awkward, weird wedges and stuff. Here's one of those things I like to do again. I don't know what the hell it's called, but I'll basically take a long flat edge like so. I know we're not gonna mess with. It's gonna be like a really long cut in comparison to all the length of all the other lines that I'm gonna cut. And then I'll come in here and basically double layer it. So I'll kind of make it this giant chunk of a vine, a giant kind of ornamental leaf section that's kind of three-dimensional. So now we can have stuff kind of stretch and come out from behind there. Let's throw a big flower right here. Yep, that's what I'm gonna do, like it or not. Putting a flower right there. Might not be no Don Gonzalez, but you know what? Don Gonzalez ain't no Brian Sosak, so. I get a ton of my floral inspiration from a crafter by the name of Chester Hape. When I got my first book on how to tool, he was this dude in the very end. The dude on the last 2 pages, he had this saddle that was covered in roses and leaves. So I took a lot of inspiration by that. I really like roses, and I was like, you know what, this dude was bold. He ran a lot of roses. I think I can do that also. I just have to commit. And then same with the leaves. Like, not many people do leaves in their tooling. And I took a lot of inspiration from that, and I love doing leaves. They get me out of predicaments pretty often, and I think they're pretty interesting because you can kind of play with them and do a lot of cool, unique things with the use of leaves to fill in your space and to also enhance your drawing. So it's not just nothing but vines, just vines on vines on vines on vines. The leaves really, to me, help bring it together and make it look as if it's like an actual organic, you know, thing that you're trying to replicate. You can also kind of get in between things with leaves, like down here between these letters. There wouldn't be a vine or something I can kind of, you know, wedge down in between 2 awkward shaped things. Bring this down, do a vine, the stem of that flower. Come out here with another vine on the edge, and we'll do one more vine here on the edge like that. This looping vine is gonna be solid here, like such, but then it's going to go behind this vine. So that's gonna give us some dimension right there, some layers. Throw another little petal in there, fill in some space. Could even come in with another flower here, stretch it out like that. Boom, problem solved. Something to that effect. You know, I'm digging it. I like how this thing turned out. This thing turned out super sick. I love how the drawing turned out. Let's take a look at the finished product.